Hi, I'm Tanya, and welcome to Faithful Flow. This is class 4 in my beginner's yoga series. So we're going to start seated. We won't be here long, though, because we're going to focus on some balancing postures in this class. So you may want to practice off of your mat or close to a wall, or even use a chair or something for support. If you feel a little unstable, so you can always touch down on something like that to offer you some stability. You may also want to find a block. We'll do tree pose. We can use a block as like a kickstand for one option. So you may find that helpful. And then we might also like to use the block. We're going to start in this kind of meditation seat with breath of joy. So a lot of times it's not super comfortable to sit right here on your ankles. So you can lift your hips and you can sit kind of the block between your ankles here. And that way you're a little more lifted up. Now, if this position hurts your knees, then you're welcome to find an easy seat or anything else like that. So we're going to start with breath of joy, which is a very active breath work, and it engages our core muscles. And I thought that would pair really well with some balancing postures, because a strong and active core is really helpful in keeping us balanced in our standing poses. So we'll do a little bit of breath work, and then I'm going to read our scripture to us, and then we'll move from there right into class. So sitting up nice and tall in this kind of meditation seat, or again, any other seat that feels good. Let's go ahead and bring our hands to our belly to start with. I'm going to demo this for you once, and then you can join me and we'll do it 3 times together. So this is breath of joy. So we're going to start by taking just a regular breath in and a regular exhale. And then we're going to inhale in about 3/4 of the way. And then we're going to use the pressure of our belly. So you'll actually feel your belly pulling in and up a little bit as we breathe out. And it's going to be a very forceful exhale. And then it's going to be a passive inhale. So we're going to push the air out with our belly. And then just as we release the belly, the air is just going to kind of come passively back in. And we're going to do that pretty quickly. And we're going to go for about 15 rounds. Now, I'm saying about because you may breathe faster or slower than me. Particularly newer yogis go a little slower with this breath work. So I'm going to count to about 15, and then we'll pause, take a regular breath cycle, probably go for 2 regular breath cycles between rounds, and then we'll do it twice more. So I'm going to demo this once for you, and then we'll do it 3 times together. So sitting up nice and tall, I'm bringing my hands to my belly so I can feel it moving. I'm going to take a breath in and a regular breath out. And repeat that one more time. A regular breath in, a regular breath out. And then I'm going to fill up to about that 3/4 mark, rather. I'm going to seal my lips. I'm going to exhale through my nose. And then a regular inhale and exhale. And I'm going to open my eyes. One more thing. If you have sinuses like I do, you may want to blow your nose before you get started. That way you don't spew everywhere. That's never pleasant. So you're welcome to pause me and do that. If you don't have sinus issues, that's great. We can go ahead and get started. All right. So hands to the belly. Sit up tall. Close your eyes if you'd like to. 2 regular breaths. So inhale and exhale. And again, inhale and exhale. Inhaling to that 3/4 mark. Sealing the lips. Inhale and exhale. Another breath cycle in and out. Filling up to that 3/4 mark in. Closing the lips and exhaling. Inhale and exhale. One more regular breath cycle in and out. Setting up for a last round. Inhaling in about 3/4 mark. Closing the lips. Starting this breath work. Regular breath in and out. And again, in and out. If you've closed your eyes, you can leave them there. Maybe just relax your hands down on your lap. And I'm going to read to us, reading out of Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 27. This is about two foundations. I just couldn't resist this since we're working on balancing poses, which is all about setting up a solid foundation to stand on. So, therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and acts on them will be like a wise man who builds his house on the rocks. The rain fell, the rivers rose, and the winds blew and pounded the house. Yet it didn't collapse because its foundation was on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and doesn't act on them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain fell, the rivers rose, the winds blew and pounded that house, and it collapsed. It collapsed with a great crash. All right, if you've closed your eyes, you're welcome to go ahead and flutter them open. We're going to stay seated like this. We're going to take some seated cat-cow. So as you inhale, open your chest towards the front. You can allow your hands to slide back, elbows come behind you a little bit. And then exhale, round your spine, slide your hands forward, tuck your chin. So again, inhaling, opening up. Exhaling, rounding down. Stay where you're at. I'm just going to spin so you can see what's happening in my spine here. So with your inhale, opening the chest forward, sliding those elbows back behind you. And then exhaling, rounding down, tucking the chin, sliding the hands forward. Inhaling. And exhaling. We'll take 3 more. See when you're doing this if you've got kind of a sticky spot in your spine, and think about exaggerating the movement just a little bit there to help create some movement and opening. And once more, inhaling and exhaling. All right, coming back to a nice straight spine first. We're going to move from here into a toe stretch. So you can move this block to the side. You may want it in a second, so don't toss it away too far. You're going to curl your toes under, and we're going to begin to sit back. Now, before you sit back, you can use your hands to actually help you here and just actually move all of these toes, including these little pinky toes underneath. And we're just going to create some pressure here on the feet and on the toes. So if your ankles begin to want to flare wide, think about drawing them together. And then if this is a little too much pressure, you've got 2 options. You can just come up kind of like you were setting up for a camel pose here on your knees, leaving the toes curled under. Or you can do this kind of halfway point where the block or brick is resting on your heels and you can sit on that, which that allows some pressure down, but it also distributes some pressure into the knees so it's not quite as intense. All right, so wherever you're at, we'll sit up nice and tall. We'll be here for a few more breaths. For 3, 2, 1. And then from here, we're just going to come out of it. If you're using a block, you can just set it to the side. And so now we're going to stretch the other side of the feet, which includes up to the calf muscles. So feet are going to come underneath you. We're going to send our hands behind us. Weight's going to shift into the hands. Now, you can kind of lengthen the tailbone and come back down for a little more secure seat. And then we're just going to lift the knees up off the mat and begin to stretch the front side of the feet here. Breathing here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Releasing that back down. Just pausing here, taking a breath. Let it go. All right, and from here we're going to meet just standing, so you can just lift the hips and stand up. And then you can spin to face any side. We're going to start with a one-legged mountain pose, actually. So regular mountain pose to get started, standing up nice and tall. Remember our footing from our first class. So pressing down firmly through the feet, lifting up through the ankles, through the kneecaps. Nice neutral pelvis here, a little bit of lift with the lower belly, keeping the natural curve of our spine, but just standing up nice and tall. And then we're going to keep all of that. Shift your weight into your left leg, and we're going to lift our right leg up, one-legged mountain pose. So we're bringing our knee kind of in line with our hip. It's okay if it's a little lower or a little higher. We're not looking for it to be up close to the chest. And then our foot is nice and active. So it can be flexed, it can be pointed, it can be flointed, which flointed is a pointed foot with flexed toes. And that's a really good option because it helps you to engage kind of both sides of the feet and both sides of this lower leg. Now, if you find your foot wobbling a little bit, think about lifting up through the ankle. And then we'll be here for 3, 2, 1, releasing that. Now, if you're super wobbly, check out what you're standing on. So if you're on like carpet and a yoga mat, that can be really squishy, which can really create some problems and some challenges for you to have these one-legged balances poses. So you may just want to step off your mat onto carpet, or if you're have just like a really thick mat, you can stick off of it too. So sometimes just that nice firm flooring is a little bit better to help you keep your balance. I got a little tangled with my words there. So, okay, other side, starting from mountain pose. Weight shifts into right leg. Keep all the length. Use the core to support you. Lift this left leg up. Coming to find this about 90-degree angle, so knees kind of in line with that hip. Pressing down through the 4 corners of that foot, lifting up through the arch. We'll just do hands anywhere today. Maybe point, flex, or floint that foot. Whatever you choose, I just don't want the foot just kind of out there like a dead fish. So nice and intentional. We're here for 3, 2, 1. Release that down, back to standing. And as you can tell, I'm a little wobbly too. I'm a little sinusy from all this crazy weather we've had in Mississippi, but even experienced and advanced yogis fall all the time with balancing poses. So it's not about perfection. It's just about working towards balance and finding some balance in our body, challenging ourselves. So next up is tree pose. We're going to work with a block to start with if you'd like it, and then we'll try it without it. So to get into tree pose, you're going to start in this mountain pose, kind of stepping to the side of the block. Hips stay pointing forward, and then we're going to lift our foot up, kind of like this one-legged mountain pose. It can stay much lower. Now, keeping the hip points facing forward, you're just going to rotate this right leg open to the side and then bring it in. So it can rest on this shin, or it can rest on this block. You may want to just kind of scooch the block a little closer in so you can kickstand it. But what I'd like you to take note of is where your hip points are in space. So sometimes with this pose, we get really concerned with having this nice open leg because we think it looks really cool. But then we lose this integrity of our hips. And when our hips are kind of open at this weird angle, it can be very difficult to keep our balance. So think about keeping your hip points both facing forward and then this right knee out to the side. If you're hearing my dog, he keeps coming in and poking his head in and looking at me. I'm not sure why he's not joining me, but if you can hear him, sorry about that. And then we'll stay here in our tree pose. A few breaths, and then we'll try it again without the block for 3, 2, 1. Releasing that, and then we're just going to switch sides. So, or we're going to fall. Right foot to the ground, and we're going to switch sides. So starting with that one-legged mountain pose, left leg lifts up, hip points stay forward. Open the left leg to the left, and then bring that left foot down to that block to support you. So weight's all on this right foot. So think evenly distributed. Lift up through the arch. Hands can stay on your hips, or they can come to heart center. Take a few breaths here. Maybe find a little more length in your spine, and the core is nice and active, helping you to balance here. Let's stay for 3, 2, 1, releasing that, coming out of the pose. And then we're going to try it again without the block. If the block is kind of where you are today, that's fine. You're welcome to practice it again without or with the block. But otherwise, we're going to try it without the block. So same entrance, starting in this mountain pose. Let's bring our hands to our hips to start with. Weight into left leg. Lift this right leg up. Keeping the hip points forward, open this right leg to the side, and then bring the foot in to rest on this left leg at any point. So it can rest low here, kind of on the side of the calf, or you can lift it up. We don't want to put too much pressure on the knee, so preferably you'll be either above or below the knee. And then when you're ready, hands can come to heart center. And if you'd like to, you can even extend them up overhead. Breathing here for 3, 2, 1. Hands can come back down. Release that back to mountain pose. We'll take a breath. Let it go. And then other side. So weight into right leg. Hands to hips to start with. Bring this left leg forward. Keep the hips forward. Open this left leg to the left and bring that leg in any amount. So it can stay low. It can come up a little higher. Wherever you're at, maybe begin to bring the hands to heart and then stay there, or you can extend them up overhead. A few more breaths. Breathing here for 3, 2, 1. Release that. Come back to stand. Take a breath and let it go. All right. Next up, we're going to play with eagle pose, and we're going to use our block again as an option for this. This time, you're going to set your block on the outside of the left foot. So we're going to end up with our right leg crossed over our left, and we can rest the foot on the block, and then we'll try it without the block as well. So eagle pose, we add an additional challenge to our balancing poses because our arms end up being in the way. So let's go over the arms first. So we've got 2 options, actually. The first one, they're not in the way, which is an eagle hug. So right arm underneath, the elbows stacked together. You're going to keep your shoulders kind of in their natural home as your elbows are lifted. And then for the full eagle arms, you're just going to bring your forearms up. Now they can just kind of, the back side of them can kiss. You can have a wrap here to bring the palms together. But this is where it gets challenging because you've got these hands in the way of your vision. So you kind of have to allow your vision to get soft, kind of go beyond, or, one eye kind of looking on each side of the hands towards a point at the wall or something that's in front of it, so you can gaze at that and kind of past the arms, and the arms will just get a little blurry or kind of hazy between there. So you can unwind that. We'll start with the legs now, and then we'll add the arms. So standing up nice and tall, hands to our hips. We're going to lift our right leg. We're going to cross it up and over our left, and we're going to kickstand this right foot on this block to start with. So squeezing the legs together like you're trying to morph them into becoming one, lift up through the chest, and then we'll add those arms. So right arm underneath, either eagle hug or coming into full eagle arms. Breathing here for 3, 2, 1. Releasing that, unwinding. Take a breath. Let it go. We're going to try the other side, and then we'll try both sides without the block. So moving this block to the right, and then starting on with moving the left leg. So weight into the right leg. Stand up nice and tall. Lift the left leg up. It crosses over the right. You can bend both legs and kickstand this left toe onto the block. Now, keeping your chest lifted, you're going to add the arms. This time, left arm underneath. So either eagle hug or full eagle arms. Now, if you're taking full eagle arms, keep your shoulders in their home. Lift your elbows to where they're kind of in line with the shoulders and pull the hands away from the face. Breathing here for 3, 2, trying to find a spot to gaze at. 1, and then releasing that, coming up out of it. Pause, take a breath. Let it go. All right, we'll try that pose again without the block this time. So you can set the block out of the way, and then we're going to move into eagle pose again without the block. So you can still kickstand that foot on the ground, or you can work towards a single wrap, or you can even kind of wrap this foot around that leg. That's a pretty advanced variation. So I would encourage just either kickstanded or kind of this single wrap. So starting standing, grow nice and tall. And then we're going to lift this right leg, cross it over the left, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze everything together. Keep the chest lifted nice and tall, and then add the arms. Right arm underneath for eagle hug or full eagle arms. Breathing here for 3, 2, 1. Releasing that. Back to standing. Take a breath. Let it go. And then other side. So this time, weight into right leg. Keep the length in the spine. Left leg up and over. Maybe kickstand, maybe floating. And then add the arms. Left arm underneath. Eagle hug. Or full eagle arms. Maybe bend a little more in the knees as you lengthen the spine. Holding the pose, but not the breath for 3, 2, 1. Releasing that back out, back to mountain pose. Take a breath and let it go. All right, we've got one more pose left, which is hand to knee pose, which is a modification for hand to big toe pose. So I'm going to briefly just show you what hand to big toe pose is so you see it. That way, if you see it in a class, you know what you can sub it for. So hand to big toe pose is when you lift up, you grab the big toe, and you extend this leg forward, standing up nice and tall. Now, this requires a lot of balance, a lot of hamstring opening, and it's more of a intermediate level balancing pose. So that's hand to big toe pose. So if you ever see that, what we're going to do instead is hand to knee, which is starting in mountain pose, left hand to your hip. You're going to bend your leg, bring it up like a one-legged mountain pose, and you're just going to grab the knee here. So standing nice and tall, and let's point our foot. And again, it can be pointed, or flexed. But I just want it to be nice and active, growing tall through the spine. Core is bracing in, but you're still able to take these nice full breaths. All right, you can stay here or moving towards hand to big toe or hand to knee pose B. Keeping the hips facing forward, we're just going to open this right leg to the right and maybe switch your gaze to the left. And as you see, I lost my balance there, which happens all the time, and I'm not going to clip it out just to show you that it happens to everyone. For 3, 2, 1. Coming back through to center. And then we're just going to release this back to stand. Let's take a breath. Let it go. And then other side. So right hand to your hips. Weight into right leg. Left leg lifts up. Hand to knee. Hold that knee. Point the foot. Grow nice and tall. Lift up through that ankle. Through the kneecap, one spot to gaze at. Breathing here for 3, 2, 1. Keeping the hips and the chest forward. Open the left leg to the left. And maybe play with the gaze. Switch your gaze to the right. Breathing here for 3, 2, 1. Bringing it all back to center. Release it out back to mountain pose. Take a breath. Let it go. Good job. You can shake it out. And we're just going to make our way to a seat. So no fancy transition today. We're just going to come and find a seat. And then we're going to do a little bit of core work. So you can spin to face the side. And then we're going to come down onto our backs. Draw your knees in towards our chest. And we're going to make some L legs. So you're going to extend your right leg up towards the sky. And your left leg is going to come down and hover up off the mat. Arms are going to extend, one on each side of this right leg. You can stay here, or you can lift the shoulders up off the mat. Now, keep the legs nice and neutral, so you may need to do what feels like a little bit of internal rotation so that they're both kind of square in the hip socket. You got a few more breaths. We'll hold for 3, 2, 1. Release back down onto our back. You can tuck both knees in towards your chest. And then we're just going to switch sides. So left leg extends long, right leg extends towards the front of the mat. It's hovered a little bit. Arms can come on either side of this left leg. Stay here, or lift your chest up a little bit. And you can see this is kind of the same shape that we would have been making if we were doing that full hand to big toe pose that we just learned the modification for. We're here for 3, 2, 1. You can release the shoulders, tuck both knees in towards the chest, give them a little squeeze. And then we're going to take a supine twist. So you can release your squeeze on the knees, and you're just going to allow the knees to fall over to the left. Once they're there, you can kind of pick your head up, turn to look to the right, maybe tuck the shoulders in a little bit more. And we'll be here for a few breaths. Just allowing our body to begin to relax. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring that head back up to center first. Unwind your spine through center. And then we're just going to switch directions. So knees can lay over to the right. Once you're there, unwind the shoulders. Pick your head up and turn to look to the left. And then several breaths here. Just beginning to let go. We were holding everything in pretty tight to keep us balanced. And now is just an opportunity for the opposite of that, to just release and relax. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bringing the head back in through center, unwinding the legs, bringing them back up, and then just making your way into your final rest. So whatever position would feel good for you, laying down, on your side, seated, whatever you would like. Let's take a couple of breaths together. So inhale, we'll fill up nice and full, get pleasantly, then almost uncomfortably full, and then sigh it out, relax on the mat. And we'll do that twice more. Inhale, fill up, get really, really full. Once you're at your fullest point, see if you can sip in just a smidge more air. And then exhale out like you're blowing out through a straw. Nice and slowly. We'll do that once more. Big breath in, fill up all the way. Once you're full up all the way, see if you can sip in just a little more. And then exhale out like blowing through a straw. All the way down. Now you can find just a nice soothing rhythm of breath. Allowing the inhales to be nice and soft. And the exhales very easy. Stay where you're at. I'm going to sit up and read. Reading again out of Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 27. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and acts on them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain fell, the rivers rose, the winds blew and pounded that house. Yet it didn't collapse because its foundation was on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and doesn't act on them will be like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain fell, the rivers rose, the winds blew and pounded that house, and it collapsed. It collapsed with a great crash. Lord, as we played on our mat today, we experienced a joyful reminder of just how important a firm foundation is. Father, we place our foundation in you. We build our lives on your truth. Thank you for giving us your word so that we may have a guide to know what is true and how to live for your glory. Lord, help us to hear your words and to put them into practice, that when the trials of life come, we may be equipped to stand firm because our foundation is in you. Remind us of your presence and your promises. Let us not be shaken, but to stand firm in knowledge that you are our rock and our salvation. Help us to trust in you completely, to follow your commands, and to live out of your love and grace in our daily lives. Thank you for being our sure foundation now and always. Jesus, it's in your name that we pray. Amen. All right, you can move out of this as slowly as you need, taking as much time, savoring the space and what we've created in our body. I hope that you're learning a lot. This was class 4. We have one class left in this beginner series, so I hope to see you again soon. Until then, grace and peace. Bye. Hi again. I just wanted to say thank you so much for your time and your interest in Christian yoga and Faithful Flow. I hope that you're finding these classes helpful both for your walk of faith and your yoga practice. My channel is brand new. I'm still building content and releasing classes, but I am taking requests. So if there's something that you'd like to see covered, please let me know. I'm happy to do post tutorials, class themes, focus on scripture verses, or some sort of discussion if you have a question about how the Christian life and yoga can work together, how yoga can help you to support your walk of faith. I'd love to help you kind of navigate through that. So you can reach me here by leaving a comment. You can reach me on my social channels or my website at faithfulflow.com. There's links to all of those below in the notes. So thank you so much for your time. Until I see you again, grace and peace.